Hello, I'm Matt, and I'm the founder of the People's Champions International. And I want to thank you for viewing and subscribing to our YouTube channel and podcast at People's Champions International. We do appreciate your insights and requests, which you can send to us directly on our channel or email us at peopleschampionsinternational@gmail.com. So, welcome to round 11 as we're elevating what people can do while discussing the impact of artificial intelligence on our lives. And today we have a special guest, Mr. Matthew Barrett, and he's going to discuss with us the impacts of technology in general, along with AI in the green energy space. So anytime there is a new technology or advancement, there's obviously a learning curve along with the positive outcomes and unintended consequences as well. And so I'm going to take a moment to introduce Matthew, and I got his introduction right here, so excuse me while I put on my glasses to be able to read this here. But Matthew, we're excited to have you today. And Matthew grew up in the Port Angeles, Washington area. He left home in 2002 to go to school in Jacksonville, Florida, and afterwards worked as a science educator at EcoEd Resources Science Center. Classes there included workshops where kids built and programmed robots to handle environmental challenges. Students needing help with the science fair found solar reactive materials among the options. So while this path took him in a different direction, he never forgot what he had taught those children and what they had taught him. As a professor of psychology, he included environmental and engineering projects among potential extra credit opportunities, focusing on the psychology of critical thinking, problem solving, and community building. Throughout all this, he kept tabs on developing green technology. Facing unemployment, he talked to reps from Smart Energy Today, a Washington-based solar company that had invested in relatively new panel design specifically for cloudy areas like the Pacific Northwest. A few months later, he joined the solar movement in Washington, and within the year, he was traveling the state telling people about the opportunities. Smart Energy Today merged with 4 other companies to form Lumio in 2022, and Matthew moved their virtual team shortly afterwards, where he now serves as an assistant manager. And so, Matthew Barrett, welcome today to People's Champions International. We're excited to have you.
Thanks, Matt. I'm really glad to be here. This is a wonderful thing that you guys are doing.
Hey, I appreciate that. Let me remove my glasses real quick. Don't need those now. So, so hey, so good. So, we're just going to dive right in. We know everyone's time is valuable, and there was a great intro and kind of just teed up what we're going to be talking about today. So, I have a few questions I'm going to be asking you, and we're excited to, for this dialogue. And I just want to start off with this. In your experience, what technological advancements have you observed or utilized personally and or professionally, and what have been the impacts on those outcomes, i.e., big picture, pros, cons, or both?
Well, yeah, in the environmental space, there's a lot of motion going on. There's especially around the area of the power grid. That's a lot of where my focus is. There's a great book by Gretchen Bakke called The Grid, and it deals with a lot of the issues. If you want to know a great summary of the issues that they're dealing with, environmental, sustainable natural resources are part of the solution there, but not. They aren't the entire solution. There's a lot of we need to be looking at saving the power grid from itself because of the way it was built, and so people are talking about grid scale storage. There's a lot of debates over shedding versus shifting loads. Those are vocabulary that we find in the power grid industry, because right now the power grid, they create load to match the need, and they match it very, very carefully. So when people get up in the morning and they start their coffee makers, that creates a load that, whether it's we don't talk about how we create that electricity, but whatever it is, whether it's coal or wind or oil or natural gas, whatever it is, they have to increase the production immediately to match that. It has to be created in real time. It's actually in fractions of a second that the watts that are heating your coffee maker half a second before, they were sunbeams or they were, coal dust or whatever. And so a lot of the changes in the technology, there's lots and lots of changes. Obviously, my main industry is solar. So there's lots of different types of solar panels. There's solar panels that work better in cloudy weather. There's solar panels that include where the inverter's already attached. There's all sorts of different types of panels out there on the market. But on the grid level, there's also stuff where they're starting to discuss, what if we had grid level storage where we don't have to create it in real time? What if we could move those loads around? What are we going to do with a lot of these sustainable resources? They're producing constantly, whether we want it to or not. The only thing worse than the Columbia River Gorge, they had 2 weeks with no wind, and they were getting all their power from wind. They can't turn the turbines back on. The only thing worse than that is when they can't turn them off. And they have to call the companies that run these. We need you to turn them off. Well, that's their profits. You need us to cut our profits. So these are the types of changes going on in the industry where we're like, all right, what if we could create a load on the grid that draws off electricity when it's being overproduced? That's a whole new discussion. What can we do to save up that power and release it later when it's needed?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I know what you're referring to there, and that's a whole separate topic and conversation as far as that goes. But you're right. I mean, those power spikes that you're talking about, when we turn things on or someone plugs in an electric vehicle, an EV, it creates that draw, and electricity has to be able to scale,
Right.
And,
right.
As far as solar tech and green energy, it definitely has a place in that arena as well. And, I love what you're sharing about technology in general and the pros and cons and what those impacts on outcomes would be. It's a fantastic response and some great insight. So we appreciate that. And I'm going to take it, a little deeper with question number 2 here that I have for you. It ties in to your insights that you just relayed to us. But we want to focus a little more on artificial intelligence. And so how do you see AI playing a role in the solar industry, renewables, and green energy overall?
Right. So, obviously, like you said, there's so many other things that we can talk about there with, from the grid level all the way down. But focusing specifically on the solar industry, right now, my team, solar is a product like any other, and there's a sales arm there of Lumio. I'm part of that. Our team, we need to generate leads. And so one of the things we were looking at is if we, get some sort of process for finding out who's interested in solar, we get their phone number and we call them up. All right. Well, there's, other ways we can get those leads where what if they're having a chat on the internet? What if they're having, what if they're doing an email campaign?
Mm-hmm.
And we have already had people pitch AI generated leads. So they say, all right, we can make these Facebook ads and we can put an AI in there and, and here, field test it, ask it questions and see if it doesn't respond as if it's a professional solar representative. And it does. And so we're like, okay, they just, they've now trained an AI to specialize in this field, given it the knowledge of or I should say, they've given it a library of facts and responses based on professional solar salespeople.
Okay.
And it's going to generate and nurture leads through these conversations it's going to have.
Wow. Okay. Let me just recap and make sure I'm following you correctly. So obviously, you and your team, you're trying to track down prospects or leads in the solar industry. And what's been pitched to you is like AI generated leads that, in essence, have a conversation and qualify those leads or prospective customers? And are these like AI chat bots, or are they phone conversations? Are they? I mean, can you give me a little more insight on as to that?
Yeah, so these are AI chat bots, but we've
Okay.
also had people pitch us for the phone conversations. I haven't heard how those do, but yeah, we've been offered both. The AI chat bots, the ones that I've tested.
I got you. And so basically, you're saying that the potential customers are thinking that they're in dialogue with a human, and they're not.
Yep,
It's actually
absolutely.
it's actually a AI generated algorithm, or program type generative AI. I guess I don't know all the lingo myself,
Yeah,
but I'm learning it as far as that goes. And based upon your observation, is it fairly realistic? Are you
absolutely.
okay?
Absolutely. And again, I'm not talking about, I won't comment yet on what I think of whether this is good or bad. I'm just talking about the
Yeah,
fact.
I'm
We were
I
field
was going to
testing
ask
this thing.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
All
yeah,
all
no,
I'm
I hear you.
saying
Yeah,
is that they asked us to test and see, this was a basic Turing test, right?
yeah,
They're saying, all right, let's see if you can trip it up and make it reveal that it's an AI.
yeah,
And we were asking it questions and it was replying as if it was a real person and doing a very good job. It was not obvious that it was an artificial intelligence.
okay, all right, good, good. Well, thanks for explaining that a little bit further. And then
Sure.
just one more quick question for you, just due to time. Before we're thinking of it, do you see any issues or unintended consequences arising from depending on artificial intelligence in the green industry?
Absolutely. There's going to be and there's going to be unintended consequences both ways. A lot of what got us here was unintended consequences. The grid needs to be completely rebuilt, and it was you'll hear me say a lot, one of my things I say is the future is a series of choices. Well, the present is a series of choices, and the choices that created our current grid, a lot of them had unintended consequences. So as far as AI and, generative or not, obviously in that case, this person is selling a product that takes the place of an employed person. So the number one unintended consequence, no one intends to put people out of a job. We have this whole myth in our society that, oh no, AI is going to create more jobs than it destroys. And I'm like, I don't see any evidence for that. And there's a great video by CGP Grey online. You should do a reaction to it sometime as one of
Mm-hmm,
the things
mm-hmm.
on your YouTube channel. Do a reaction to his video, Humans Need Not Apply, because he talks about the logic there of why we believe this, um, and it's like horses mid-century, if they had been able to talk and have a conversation, they would talk about, oh, geez, should we be worried about these new automobiles? Oh, no, don't worry about it. The new technology will always create new and better jobs for horses. And when you put it that way, it sounds stupid. So why do we think that there's some sort of rule that says it will always, always, always create new and better jobs for humans?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I agree, and hear what you're saying. I mean, we've talked about this topic, or teed it up in past rounds, podcasts, and that's the thing is with any technological advancement, a lot of folks think that things are just going to go on as they are, and this is not necessarily the case with this industrial revolution, as we call it, with AI. And so
yeah,
we're trying to make create awareness and keep people from being complacent on a very important topic that you just brought up. So,
yeah,
hey, I'm going to bring it in for a landing, but I really thank you for your time today. Everyone's time is valuable, and this has been great listening to you and having this brief dialogue on your insights. Is there anything that, as far as making a plug for your business or for subscribers and viewers to be able to get a hold of you if you have questions about solar or green energy, would you like to share any details?
Sure. So I wanted to do this as the flip side of the unintended consequences. There are some unintended good consequences to artificial intelligence in the solar space.
Mm-hmm.
I want to specifically talk about Enphase technology. They've put AI to good use. Smart grid technology has potential to work with us. So this is on all the Lumio installs. They have smart grid technology because most people think, and it's a truism in the industry, when the power goes out, your solar has to shut down. And people are upset about that. What do you mean? I'm producing my own power, but during a power outage, I can't use it. Using Enphase Tech, they have a load controller that speaks to the panels and adjusts the amount, just like I was talking about at the very beginning, about that real-time production, so people can get at that at the home level. And it will actually do that without sending anything back feeding out to the grid that might hurt somebody. And so this is a good side of artificial intelligence. And the solar industry is using that Enphase, Lumio. This is what we're doing with technology in the solar space. It's really wonderful stuff. So if you want to talk, I know a lot of people are worried about the future, and these are good conversations that we're having, but it can get people a little worried about the future. So I'm going to close with what I always say. I was hinting at it earlier. The future is nothing more than a series of choices, and we can choose to make it bright.
That's right. That's right. I agree with what you said there. That's fantastic. So way to wrap it up there. So, all right. Well, I'm going to conclude our round for today. And people, we have so much to talk about, and the media will not and cannot cover it all. So that's why we need you people like Matthew here, not AI, all peoples to stand with us, no matter where we're from, whether it's here in the U.S., international, to contribute and promote what we're talking about. So we want to hear your stories, just like we're hearing Matthew's today, about how people, businesses, and governments alike are utilizing artificial intelligence in a positive way for people and society, or in an adversarial way, so that we can hold them accountable. So with that, until round 12, we want to thank you for viewing and subscribing. And remember, AI may be intelligent, but people are wise. So be well.